setting priorities in a SaaS business is a little more challenging than a traditional product company, and how you set priorities has to be based on a balanced equation, frankly. It's not as simple as an ROI calculation where you're building something, you can count how many of those somethings you sell, and you're left with margin at the end of the day, because a lot of the things we're investing in from a SaaS perspective are features and functions that are enhancements to what we've previously had. We're serving an install base that we have to renew. Churn's one of the challenges in a SaaS business. So you always want to focus on your install base, you want to focus on those renewals. Unlike a traditional product-based relationship with customers, where you make a purchase and then maybe you make a purchase once that thing wears out sometime in the future. In the SaaS world, every month you can churn. And so you have to have constant satisfiers and constant investments in your service so that the customer renews literally every month. Making those decisions and having line of sight to how those decisions have impacted that renewal rate is the ultimate objective. And of course, there's a balance between growth and renewals, of course. So always trying to get in a new market. So how we do it is we find metrics underneath the metrics, frankly, because we look at derivative metrics as driving the right things around renewals, growth, revenue, things of that nature. However, having, as I mentioned, direct line of sight of, if I make this feature, it's going to drive X% new sales, that's a very difficult thing to track. And you find yourself in the CFO's office trying to figure out how to have allocation models and things of that nature. We've chosen to do it a different way. We look at the metric that drives the metric. And so one of our critical metrics is adoption. So the more people that use our product, for example, and the better it's adopted throughout our user base, it tells us a couple things. So it tells us how much they like the product. It tells us it's driving value within their organization. So that's helpful to know from a quality perspective. It's helpful to know from a user experience perspective. But it also tells us they're going to renew. And it also tells us they're going to buy more, because once they run out of licenses, of course, they buy more. And so what we try to do is, as we launch and invest in things in our infrastructure, whether it's a new feature or it's an enhancement or it's scalability or any of these things, when we spend $1, we want to see line of sight to how is that driving adoption. And one of the unique things we have at Task is I own the adoption metric. So having a product and technology organization own the adoption metric versus sales or service or one of those other things, we think is a pretty unique thing. And it drives my team to say, how much does a customer like what I'm doing? And if they like what you're doing, again, buy more, renew. And so that's how we do it.